Merry meet. Reverend Dan here, just trying to say hello. How are you all doing today? I know it's a little late for this, about 2 days late on the Yule list, but anyway, I'm going to give you a little invite on exactly what Yule is about. So just hang in there. It might be a little lengthy, it might not be a little lengthy, whatever goes on, goes on. Anyway, here we go. So Yule is deeply rooted in the cycle of the year. It's actually the seed time of year, the longest night and the shortest day, where the goddess once again becomes the great mother and gives new birth to the sun king. In a poetic sense, it is the longest night of winter or the darkest night of the souls. The spring is the new spark of hope, the sacred fire or the light of the world. Fire festivals celebrating the rebirth of the sun are held on the winter solstice, which is also known as Yule, and can be found throughout the ancient world. The Roman festival of Saturnalia was held on the winter solstice. Boughs of evergreen trees, bushels of evergreen trees, would decorate houses. Gifts and exchange of normal business was suspended, and the Parisian mythalists held on December 25th as a sacred birth of their sun god, Mithras, and celebrated as a victory of light over darkness. In Sweden on December 13th, it was the sacred goddess of Lucina, the Shining One, celebrated as a victory of light over darkness and the return of the light. On Yule itself, which is around the 21st of December, but it can go all the way to the 1st of January, bonfires were lit in honor of Odin and Thor. The festival was already closely associated with the birth of other and older pagan gods like Oedipus, Theus, Hercules, Perseus, Dionysus, Apollo, Mirtha, Horus, and even Arthur, with the cycle of birth, death, resurrection, and that also very close to Jesus. It's pretty much the same thing, and I'll get into that in just a few minutes of how it is. That's one reason why the Christians decided it was time to put Jesus Christ's birthday, which is actually January 6th, on December 25th, because it kind of worked its way through with the Yule. It actually mythologically linked Jesus to the sun. That Yule is yet another fire festival should come to no surprise. However, unlikely the more public outdoor festivals of the summer solstice, Yule lends itself to more private and domestic celebrations between groups and clans. Yet, like midsummer counterpart, is strongly associated with fertility and, that area of life. Here the goddess is in her dark aspect, in her mourning. She who cuts the thread, or the lady in darkness, calling it back to the sun god. But at the same time, she is also possesses of giving birth to the sun/lover, who will refertilize her and the earth, bringing back the life and the warmth to the world. Played as an important role in the celebrations of the winter solstice and later Christmas, a large oak was ceremoniously brought into the house and kindled at dusk. Using a brand from previous year's Yule log, it was deemed essential that the log, once lit, should burn until it has extinguished itself, and the length of time varied from region to region. It usually ranged from 12 hours to several days, which is why Yule is 12 days long. It was considered omened if the fire burnt itself out. It was never allowed to burn away completely, and some would be needed for the following year. In England, it was considered unlucky for the Yule log to be bought. It had to be acquired using other means as long as no money changed hands. Often it was given as a gift, sometimes decorated evergreens. In Cornwall, a figure of a man with sometimes chalk on the surface of the log, where it was called the Thurfory. Carols were sung invoking blessings among women, that they might bear children, and upon the crops, herds, and flocks, that they might also increase in the following years to come. Some parts of the Scottish Highlands, a variation of the Yule log was observed. Here, a figure of an old woman was carved in a withered tree stump. At dusk, the figure was brought into the house and laid upon a burning peat in the house fire. The woman would gather around the hearth and watch the figure consumed into ashes, and the rest of the evening was spent in games and merriment. The figure represented not fertility, but of the evils of winter and death. The figure had to be totally consumed if misfortune and death were to be avoided for the upcoming year. Now, Yule, like I said, Yule and Christmas are very, very, very similar. They have a lot of things in common, and I'm going to start getting into that now. First being mistletoe. I saw Santa kissing Santa Claus underneath the mistletoe that night. That's a jolly old Christmas song. Mistletoe is from the Old English or parasitic plant that grows in various trees, particularly apple tree. It is held in a great veneration and was found on oak trees in the winter solstice by the Druids. It was according to bardic tradition that the time when the chief Druid would cut off the sacred mistletoe from the oak. The mistletoe was cut using a golden sickle on the 6th day of the moon. This is often associated with thunder and regarded as protection against fire and lightning. So they would do this to protect themselves against fire and harsh weather. In Scandinavian cultures back then, the beautiful were killed from an arrow made by mistletoe and wielded by a blind god, Hodder. It is interesting to note that mistletoe was excluded from church decorations in the Christian religions, probably due to its connection to the Druids and the pagan mythological associations. That's something that's very interesting to find out. The Yule candle was an ornamental candle of great size, once widely used at Yule throughout Britain, Ireland, and Scandinavia. It was often colored red or green or blue and decorated with sprigs of holly and some other evergreen. The candle was lit either on Christmas Eve, which is, they're still considered Christmas Eve even in our Druid religion. Its light shedding the festival of supper and left to burn throughout the night of early Christmas morning. To burn throughout the day was rekindled on each successive night of the 12-day festival of winter solstice. The 12 days of Christmas is not the 12 days of Christmas, it's the 12 days of Yule. They're the same thing. And finally extinguished on the 12th night. While the candle burnt, it was believed to shed a blessing on the household. It was considered a sign of ill omen or misfortune if the candle to go out or blow out by itself. It was also considered unlucky to move it from one place or blow out the flame when the time came to extinguish it. It was done by pressing the wick with a pair of tongs. In some households, only the head of the family could perform this task, not the rest of the family. it being considered unlucky for anyone else to touch it. Up until the late century, chandlers used presents, regularly customers with Yule candles in various sizes as a gift. If you want to do a Yule ritual, and there are some that might want to do it, there's a couple of supplies you will need. You'll need a Yule log, which would either be an oak or a pine log, with a white or red or black candle on it. You need to set it in the fireplace. You need to have a chalice of wine and a piece of paper and a pencil for each person. The altar is adorned with evergreens such as pine, rosemary, bay, juniper, or cedar, and the same can be laid to mark a circle. After casting your circle, you guys can do whatever you need to do in order to have your Yule festival ritual. That can be done solo. It doesn't have to be done with multiple people. Trust me, I do my own. You need to invoke the god and goddess that you have. And then you need to light your candle and say some words to the god and goddesses. And you concentrate the Yule log by blessing it with your gods and goddesses. And then you need to pick up your chalice and toast to your gods and goddesses. Then you and the people that are around you will write down what you want for the next year to be safe. And you're going to burn that in the Yule fire. And then you're going to close the circle and banish your gods and goddesses. With that being said, like I had said before, the majority of the Yule events are in fact very, very, very similar to Christian beliefs, almost to a T. So a lot of things we enact within Christian religion and Druidic religion. So why don't we just get along? A lot of us do, believe it or not, get along. So there's no reason for us not to. My old Christian church, H2O, is willing to help us out with the Druidic Order. So be respectful towards other religions and respect their holidays as much as we want them to respect our own. And everything will be merry and jolly and happy and great. With that being said, be ready because tomorrow night my Ovate class will be doing a class on healing stones and stone healing. My Ovate class actually consists of 4 people now. It's gone up. Josh Thornberry, Billy Sires, Keith Caldwell, and Caitlin Dowell. You 4 are inside the Ovate class. Everyone else is inside the Bardic class. Blessed be. I'll see you guys tomorrow night, and happy Yule, y'all.